Welcome, everybody. How are you? Matt, what's going on, man?
Steve, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know what? I'm going to do a thing because I'm noticing that I'm like zoomed way out and you're zoomed in. So let's just there we go. Now this feels right.
Beautiful.
I'm a nerd, man. What can I say? Well, hey, welcome everybody. We're gonna get started here in just a few minutes. We're gonna talk about um the gosh, I'm my brain has fried already, and we haven't even started, Matt. What am I doing? We're gonna talk about basically a maturity model for using AI in your service desk. That's ultimately what today's webinar is about. All right. So, um, it's going to be educational. This isn't like a weird pitch for Matt's product. I'm sure Matt would love if you used his product. I'd love if you used mine. And we'll talk about those products later, not right now. So a little bit about me. If you guys don't know who I am, I'm Steve Taylor. I run webinars here at Alternative Payments. Before this, I ran my own MSP for over 10 years. I've been in the IT industry for over 20, and I have been doing content for MSPs with Rocket MSP, for example, a podcast that I still have. It's just on hiatus. Um, for gosh, 8 or 9 years I've been doing this. So I've done like, I don't know, over 600 of these at this point, and it's been a blast. How about you, Matt? What's your background? You got any
Yeah,
cool
so
stories?
oh sorry.
You got any cool stories for us?
Got plenty of cool stories. So my career prior to Thread, I had a 10-year career with an MSP based out of New York City by the name of Richard Fleischman and Associates. It's
Okay.
RFA for short. They actually just recently exited this year. So kudos and congratulations to them. It was quite the journey. But yeah, started on the compliance side there, doing disaster recovery and business continuity, resiliency, consulting type work, and then grew through the operations tree. Ultimately, became chief of staff, and so they work with hedge funds and private equity funds. First hedge more, maybe private equity more a little bit later, given the boom or bust nature of hedge funds. And yeah, awesome way to learn the space and to be part of a growing organization. Fell in love with MSPs and fell in love with the the challenges inherent in the business model and ways to solve for them. And so that's where we had the idea for a little product that started out as Chat Genie and later ultimately became Thread.
That is so cool, man. Well, hey, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to pop up a little poll. So you guys got to know us a little better. I'd love to get to know you a little better. Um, like two of the questions in here, it's 5 questions, okay? One of them is what would better AI service desk maturity mean for your MSP? The other is what's the service desk outcome you're working toward? So what those are going to do is I'm going to find a way to slip in some interview questions to Matt based on the answers to specifically those 2 questions. So if you guys can answer that poll, that would be super helpful. Meanwhile, I want to share a fun story with you guys. Last week on Friday, I went and got my eyes examined. You know, I wear glasses; it's a thing, right? So, uh, um, I didn't expect anything new or different, but I did tell the doctor, "Hey, my eyesight, I don't know. I'm squinting more. It's harder to read things. You know, I'm 42. I feel like an old man, right?" So they ended up sending me to an ophthalmologist instead of an optometrist, and I learned a whole lot, Matt. Did you know that when uh, uh when you strain your eyes, so I'm a farsighted person, which means it's really easy for me to use my muscles to like focus and compensate my vision because everything is actually out of focus when you're farsighted. When you're nearsighted, you can at least see something clearly. When you're farsighted, you actually can't see anything clearly. It's crazy. So because of that, I said, everything hurts. And they said, how's your memory? I said, not great. And, they're asking me about all these other like core functions. So, did you know that your eyes are actually technically part of your brain?
I
Like,
did not know
they
that.
all just connect right up into your brain. We don't have to get any more involved with it than that. But uh, think about when you've got your trusty computer. Let's call it a Mac Studio with an M1 Max CPU in it. Just a
Just for example.
random, just a random one that may or may not be sitting on my desk. And you have installed a Home Assistant to run your smart home. Maybe you've installed Plex to do like a media server. And you've got Chrome open with 113 tabs and Safari, and whatever else you've got running, right? All of your apps. You got your personal mail, you got your business mail, you got Canva, you got everything running, right? Well, then you're like, I've got a great idea. I'm going to run an MCP locally on my machine and connect it up with Claude. That's what my eyes are doing right now. My eyes are running an MCP server because I'm straining my vision so hard. So if I look confused, and I'm forgetful, or I'm just doing this a lot, because I don't have my new glasses yet.
There we have it. Are they like blue light glasses or
No, man. So they double dilated my eyes. Okay. So they used two different drops to super dilate me. They ran me through the tests, and my true prescription is significantly worse than it was,
wow?
simply because they tested me differently and better. And I'm officially an old man, because I now have a prescription for progressive lenses. I
Uh,
can get bifocals, Matt.
life goals. Actually, I'm the inverse of you. I'm incredibly nearsighted, basically legally blind.
Yeah,
So I uh, different experience, but definitely here for vision impairment stories.
yeah. So I'm going to wrap it all up. I'll put a bow on it, and then we'll dive in. Okay. So I said, my neck doesn't move. Like, this is my range of motion on my neck because it's fused itself. I'm not looking for, sob story, pity, or anything. Okay. So they said, well, with progressives or even with um, bifocals, it actually narrows your vision even further because it's like warping the lens.
Mhm.
So I had to order 4 pairs of glasses, Matt.
To see, it's like Goldilocks. See which one works best.
I got a pair of sunglasses that are distance only. I got a pair of, I'm gonna call them bed glasses. They're the ones that I got from Zenny Optical that were super cheap that I don't mind lying on
Mhm.
if I fall asleep looking at a device or reading or whatever, right? I got a pair of just regular old distance, and then I got a pair of computer glasses, which are somewhere in between the bifocal and distance. It's not fully bifocal because it's not that far, or it's not that close. But so I don't actually have anything that's the true bifocal portion. But oh man, I can't wait. Counting down the days. All
Yeah,
right, so let's talk.
I always wanted a monocle, but we'll see.
Yeah, you know, I did too. I always say I always wanted a monocle like the Monopoly Man, and apparently I
Yeah.
don't think he ever had one.
Oh, no?
Yeah, the like the Berenstein Bears, right?
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah.
Little Mandela effect.
So Matt, you have spoken uh actually quite often over the last, I don't know, year, two, three, about service desk maturity. And lately you're talking about AI service desk maturity, and that's because you are very bullish, as am I, if I'm honest, about AI and its ability to serve and obey its human overlord.
That's right. Yeah, we actually it's one of our great partners, William Capes at Integratech, used the phrase just conversationally that we have now co-opted, and if he asks you, we made it up, which is we're big believers in using AI to make service more human, and that's what MSPs are at the end of the day, right? It's humans delivering a service to other humans who happen to be their customers, and we want to use AI to essentially do all the low level mundane tasks that aren't the best use of anybody's time, so that technicians and users can focus on just a great experience.
Oh man, Chris asked if the monocle is going to lean into the pirate theme for Thread. I will be honest, I totally forgot about the pirate theme, Matt.
You know
Is
it.
that still a thing?
Death to the ticket. Still
Oh
a thing.
man. All
Still very
right.
much a thing. I don't know if a
I
monocle
I know you
goes.
guys went hard with the pirate theme for a minute.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's cool that it's still there.
yeah, and I think it always will be part of the culture, right? I don't know if a monocle is very pirate-ish, maybe like one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Um well, and you could always get Steve from, not me, from Dodgeball, Steve the pirate.
Yeah. Well, definitely for maybe engagements. Maybe we'll have him at conferences.
Yeah. So what made you realize that MSPs needed like a roadmap instead of let's just jump into some AI tools?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is a sea change in the space and an evolution in the space, and we've seen a few of these, right? When I first started at RFA back in the day, at the time it was cloud computing. It was getting folks out of the closet and into software as a service or private cloud hosting instances. And the second one I would say is security. All the enterprise security focused tools getting repackaged and productized, um, focused more on the SMB side or brought into the SMB segment, and then products and services on the MSP side being built around them so that they now have revenue centers around security as a practice and as a service. And I think AI is the latest and greatest evolution of that. In that, maybe less uh, enterprise facing technology. Sure, it's been out there for a little bit, but again, it's a new platform, it's a new technology, it's a new capability set that MSPs are learning by implementing internally, and in turn will eventually build a product and a service around. But in the meantime, are figuring out ways to drive efficiency in their business and really tackle some of the challenges that we all well know and maybe don't love in the model.
Now, Matt, I've got a lot of questions to get through. You're gonna have to. All right, I'm teasing. I'm teasing. All right. So what happens? Before I ask, so we've got the maturity model for the AI service desk, right?
Mhm.
So just like an operational maturity model that hopefully everyone here has heard of already, um, there are different like levels, so you might be a level 1, you might be a level 2. Sometimes if you're really awesome, you're like a level 3, or I don't know if 4 is ever possible, like 4 always seems like unobtainium, right? So what happens when MSPs just like, I don't know, skip the process and just say, I'm a 2, and they don't actually like confirm that they're doing all the things like before they get to 1 or as they're in 1 to lead into 2?
Yeah, I think you might call yourself a 2, but it doesn't mean that you're a 2, right? And
Yeah.
I think what happens is if you try to fast forward and skip a few steps, it results in a lot of failed implementations because you don't get the outcome that you think you should get because the foundational strategies and layers haven't been addressed yet.
Yeah. I mean, I say I'm a 2. My wife says I'm a solid 9, but
Yeah,
you're
I agree with her. Don't worry.
your your point is valid. So you have, I think you still have like an AI Service Unleashed community, right?
We do.
Where
Yeah,
where
it's
is that?
so it's a community call that we have on a weekly basis. It's the as my co-founder Mark Alive likes to say, it's the one call that you can't miss in the channel if you're looking to implement and adopt AI in your service organization. And so we have about 130 to 150 MSPs joining us on a weekly basis. The goal is to share ideas, share learnings. It's not necessarily specific to our platform, but of course, a
Okay.
lot of it does involve our platform. And the goal is to just raise the level of capability in the space through knowledge sharing.
Where do you think most of the MSPs that attend your call regularly sit on the maturity model now?
Yeah, definitely. If they're joining early in their journey with us, they'll be early in the maturity journey. But those who have been with the community call from the jump and taking away the learnings and adopting them, certainly on the higher end of the maturity curve. We recently had our Thready Awards, as we call them. So it's kind of like the Dundies from The Office, right? Um, but essentially we celebrated the partners of ours who um, have seen the best outcomes through the adoption of technology, AI technology. It's been really exciting to see just the impact in their business and hear them talk a little bit about it.
And would you say there's anything, do you think they like get surprised when they realize where they actually are on this model?
Yeah, I think like anything, you go to the dentist or you go to your accountant and the maybe you come in expecting to get a certain level of health report and you get a different level of health report. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
People, you know, I'm AI literate. I use ChatGPT and ask it some questions, and so naturally we must be some level of maturity, and it just doesn't necessarily work that way.
Yeah. So let's start at the beginning of the model. And hey, for those of you here with us live, the chat's open. This is your session just as much as it is mine and Matt's. So please feel free to chime in if you've got comments, questions. I will kind of moderate Matt, so I don't want you to feel like you have to pay attention to that. I will also pay attention to the Q&A box. If anybody pops anything in there, I'll do my best to weave those in too. Let's start at the beginning. So this has like 4 stages or steps, right?
That's right.
And then in my ignorance, I've never really looked into exactly how any of these maturity models work. So do you always start off at 1, or is there like you're so behind you're at 0 and you're not even at 1 yet?
Yeah, I think step 0 is, really introspecting and taking a look at the organization culturally and
Okay.
understanding, is AI something that I wanna pursue? What are my goals with pursuing the implementation and adoption of it internally? And ultimately, if the goal is to get it in front of my customers as well, and in my customers' business, is that something that I'm interested in pursuing as well? Because um, if you're not coming from a point of uh, kind of bottom up, top down cultural alignment, your implementation ultimately will fail. You need to make sure that it's a change that you and the organization are ready for. So that's always what we talk about as like step zero is, are we serious about this? Can we commit the resources and capacity to implementing?
Okay. Now, so what does stage one look like? What are MSPs doing at stage one? This is, I just assume manual everything. There's no AI in the service desk. When somebody calls, it doesn't matter if it's an answering service or one of the service guys or a dispatcher or whoever. Somebody answers and hopefully creates a ticket in the PSA, and then somebody else has to work on that ticket. Hopefully, it's assigned to that somebody else. And if you're really lucky, the human that did the assigning assigned it to the right person. That all sound about right?
100%. And all the little steps and tasks in the interim, like making sure that the right priority is assigned to the
Mm-hmm.
request, to the ticket,
Oh
and
yeah, that's right.
the
Yeah,
right
so priority, and then there's the type and subtype, or if you're doing I can't think of, there's the one model where you've got like the three, there's type, subtype,
an item. Yeah,
subtype. Yeah, item.
TSI.
Yeah.
TSI. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, there's different, and it could be even as simple as you're on ConnectWise versus Autotask versus something else where they might have three uh three in the hierarchy or
They
two.
do.
I don't know. Can it used to be that ConnectWise was three and Autotask was two. Did Autotask update it to where you can have three now?
Yeah, and it's a different flavor
Sure,
of the same concept, right? And
sure.
Autotask it's queues, not boards, and ConnectWise is TSI, and Autotask you a little more flexibility in terms of types and the automations that you can derive from those types. But ultimately,
Mhm.
you're getting the same thing functionally and the same outcome. The challenge is before you implement some of the latest and greatest AI products that are out there, all of that's happening manually, and it's all happening based on a judgment call from a human, based on a definition set, like a way of doing things in the MSP that probably changes through time. And so, best case scenario, you're looking at a 55-60% accuracy rating, for a fully trained person in getting this right. Whereas, what we've seen is that AI, you can get to 85% plus just by turning it on, and then with a couple, tweaks and iterative changes into the 90s very, very easily.
Man, 55 to 60%, and that's best case scenario.
Yep. Yeah,
Don't love that.
we've done a bunch of, so originally when we set to build out the assistive, feature set, we thought that the best thing we could do would be to train on historical data. And in doing a lot of the back testing and analyses that we did at the time, we found that the accuracy level just wasn't there. So maybe you have different types, subtypes, and items on different boards in the same MSP. Maybe you have dispatchers assigned to, like, dedicated to pods within the organization, and each of them does it just a little bit differently. um, all of that kind of ambiguity and uncertainty adds up through time. And also the service catalog changes, the applications that you
Mhm.
support through time changes, and all of that makes it such that really having a centralized definition and rule set uh, that doesn't change, that you don't hire or fire, is really the best way to do it to make sure that the quality of data in your estate stays really, really high.
Perfect. And I feel like this is maybe I'm getting into semantics here, okay? So I
Mhm.
suspect you should probably have like a checklist or something that you might have even made. And this is, I just want to clarify, guys, this isn't prompted, okay? So do you have like a checklist of here's all the things you need to do before you can get into the next stage for each of the stages?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we shared it, but we'll definitely make sure to share it and follow up to
Okay.
the webinar. We do have kind of tear sheets and checklists per stage that'll help you understand and assess am I stage 0 through 4, and
Mhm.
what what needs to be true or what should I consider to be true before I move on to the next progressive step as part of the maturity model.
So when you look at that, is there is there like priorities of like, okay, so before I can even put AI in place or before AI even makes sense, you have to have certain capabilities set up in the service desk. So does it matter if you do setting up your types and subtypes and items before you set up um, the role types or like obviously all of this stuff needs to get set up
Mhm.
correctly. You got to have the SLAs and the priorities and the teams and the boards, all that needs set up. So does it really matter what order you set it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think the hope is that if you're entertaining implementation of AI, that you have the foundational core like operational elements already set up and clean, so that the data that you're working from into the future also is clean. And so that's part of the step 0, step 1 recommendations is to make sure that um that your taxonomy is clean and that it meets your expectations across all of the boards. Like do that initial cleanup effort first, so you're starting from a good foundation before getting into the meteor stuff.
That makes perfect sense. Um, how does an MSP know they've successfully completed stage one? Is it we checked off all the boxes in the checklist? Or is it because we've started checking off boxes in stage two's checklist?
Yeah, I mean, I think you'll see it in your reporting, right? Like the if you're using Breakage or if you're using Power BI or like reporting tools inherent in the PSA, you'll see the sprawl of your types, subtypes, and items start to narrow. It'll look and feel more harmonious, more contiguous into the future, and then you'll also see, I think, a greater adherence to your SLA with a greater what you monitor and what you measure tends to improve and to grow. So if you're continuing to stay tight to your priorities and your TSI, you'll see more consistency there as a baseline before we look to start handing it off to AI.
Chris has a comment that I have a statement I want to add before you get to respond. So Chris said he's really interested to understand what the take up is like for chat based responses. His experience is people entering the workforce now don't want to call or email; they just want to chat. Um, And a follow up is how far away is the AI from self resolving anything other than, say, password or simple access requests? I think we can get to that one later as we talk about stages two and three, maybe four. Four, I think, is probably autonomous, but we'll get there in a bit. Let's talk about I don't know. What do you want to call it? Lazy. Sorry. Did you hear my Legend of Zelda tone there?
No, I
Oh,
wish I did.
the microphone noise canceling works really well. That was my reminder to take medicine. So, let's see. You know, With people entering the workforce now, are they lazy? They don't want to call or email. They prefer to interact with chat. I don't have an answer to that. I will say this. Personally, I also prefer to chat usually. Um, I feel like I can multitask if I have the option to chat. The problem I have with chat is I'll multitask, but sometimes the chat thing I'm using, like, it doesn't ding. You know what I mean? Like with your platform, it can integrate right into like Teams or Slack, if I recall. So like yours can
Yep.
ding, and however they've got their Teams or Slack notifications set up. You just help them fix that as another freaking ticket they open. Um, but if I want to chat with Micro Center and I want to ask them to get me special pricing on a Unify switch, not that I'm not that I'm doing that right now to upgrade my Eero to Unify. Um, I'll open the chat, I'll shoot them a message, and then I'll go do something else because they're like, oh, we'll be back to you in 7 to 10 minutes. I'm okay, cool. Well, 7 to 10 minutes goes by, and I still haven't heard any dings. And then I go check, and I've been kicked out because I've been idle for too long. So I feel like on my end, at least, chat is frustrating, even though I keep doing it. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think as the demographic of the workforce changes and continues to recompose younger, right? You see more millennials, you see more Gen Z entering the workforce. We do see that the natural inclination is to operate more in a chat interface, as opposed to calling or to emailing. It especially if it's to your point, if it's something that meets you where you work, where you operate, in your Slack, in your Teams, on your desktop. Um, it's more convenient, it's more seamless experience, and it's more on your terms as the consumer, as the end user, as opposed to having to sit and wait on the phone, or expecting a call back, for example, or again sending something into the void that is email and hoping to get a response back. And so, we're a little biased. That's the channel in which we started building and kind of pioneered
Mhm.
chat in the MSP space. But um, uh, the other thing that's great about it is you'll see a pretty strong improvement in things like CSAT survey response rates and customer experience scores. You'll see them improve very quickly because again, it's meeting them where they are as opposed to having to get an email and then click on the survey in the email and then fill out the survey. We have partners who have gone from a 15%, 18% response rate up into the 80s and 90s via chat because it's just right there, and a lot of consumers are used to responding in that way.
Nice. All right. Well, we have, I'll say, more in store. We still have uh the stages levels 2, 3, and 4 to talk about. But first, a message from our sponsors. Um, So what I want to say is this roadmap you're sharing is, in my opinion, exactly what MSPs need right now. You're teaching us how to handle more work without adding headcount. And that that's the kind of efficiency that changes everything. Um, so before we dig into the next stage of AI maturity, let's take a quick break. I want to share how alternative payments um, fits into this same philosophy. Let's do more with what you already have. So let me send this live. Let me go to the correct page. There we go. So while Matt's helping you build service desk capacity and you're not having to hire technicians, alternative payments is going to help you get paid faster without hiring more billing staff. We serve over 800 MSPs now, I believe. possibly more than that. And they have automated their accounts receivable so that they can focus on growing their business instead of chasing invoices. Companies like Sage IT, Valiant, Granite, Logic IT. These are names that hopefully you've heard. They trust us to handle payments so they can handle growth. So here's how it works. Your clients get a secure branded portal where they can see all their invoices, manage their payment methods, and set up auto pay all by themselves. That last part is what really matters. Because when clients enable auto pay on their own, you stop chasing payments and they stop worrying about due dates. Simple for them, it's automatic for you. And let's be honest, who doesn't have a subscription to Netflix, Amazon Prime, set up auto pay on their electric bill or their HOA or whatever else, right? Make sure your MSP is getting set up just like that for your clients. We connect your PSA and accounting software to create one automated workflow from invoice to reconciliation. So when you create an invoice in ConnectWise, Halo, Autotask, SuperOps, wherever, we'll send it to your client for you automatically. When the payments due, we'll charge them if they're enrolled in AutoPay. When then we'll mark the invoice paid in both the PSA and the accounting software. When the payment clears, we sync everything back to QuickBooks, Xero, Sage Intact, FreshBooks, whatever platform you're using. The deposit shows up in your accounting software with all the fees handled correctly. So all you have to do is match it to your bank feed, and then you're done. No manual entry, no reconciliation headaches, no chasing down. What's this fee for? Because everything just matches right up, and there's no credit card fee invoice you're going to get at the end of the month to overcomplicate things. This is not complicated to set up. Our onboarding team migrates your customer payment data to our platform without breaking PCI compliance, and you can eliminate over 80% of manual AR work and save an average of 3% on credit card processing fees and get paid faster because you're not manually chasing invoices anymore. So if that sounds like it can save you time and or money, I am going to launch a poll, and whether you're already a customer, not interested, whatever, um, just shoot a quick response to the poll because remember, conversation couldn't hurt. Now, I will pass the baton over to Matt, and Matt will have the opportunity to tell you guys a little bit more about Thread, which is a
Mhm.
really cool software.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll be pretty brief. Thread is an AI service desk platform for MSPs. We enable you to a shift non-billable resources such as dispatchers or service coordinators. Take that capacity through that's created through automation and AI, assistive and agentic. We'll talk about those here in a few. Shift that capacity to billable work, which in turn will improve your service gross margins. And then we also help you drop the cost of service through time by automating more and more of the work to be done for you through deflections and through AI assisted resolutions.
That's that's it. So you're
It
gonna say your software does so much.
Yeah, those are the most important things, right? Those are the outcomes that we help deliver. And the goal
Man,
is to, in so doing, just like the theme and the name of the webinar, is to uh, discover a business model and enable a business model that's more profitable, and then B also scales irrespective of headcount through time.
well, since he's not gonna say it, I will. Thread has been doing some really cool things with or without AI for several years now. But the one thing that I remember, and it's probably changed by now, just because, time, right? I remember a couple years ago seeing in Thread that it had like this box where you could just give it instructions like here's exactly how you're supposed to escalate or um who to dispatch things to and like everything. If it's a question about a printer, send it to Steve because he hates printers the most and we hate Steve. Whatever instructions you wanted to give it, it all just went into a box like you're just talking to Chat GPT. Is it still like that now?
Yeah, so there's a few components of the platform, right? There's the end user, the customer facing application we call Messenger. So that's the app that
Mhm.
you embed in your customer's environment that shows it enables them to conversationally ask for help and receive help from your team or your AI, and B, it shows their recent thread history, so they can follow up on those if and as needed. And then there's the inbox, which is the interface that technicians work out of. It can be embedded as a pod in your PSA, or the full experience, which gives you superpowers as a standalone app that lives on the desktop, or you can hit from the web. Um, you know, Underpinning all of that is the workflow automation, the assistive AI, and the agentic AI solutions. And so, um, both end user facing and technician facing. On the technician facing side is exactly what you're referring to. We call it chat with magic. It's like ChatGPT for your technicians. However, it's given all of the recent context from that account and within your organization. So that's giving contextual answers. It's giving answers based on memories that it's generating for the individual contact and for the company. So really, what we're gearing towards is we're calling it intelligence service delivery. You're getting the best answers and the best insights from the AI because it's learning and it's generating memories as you're delivering that service and as you're closing out requests. Everything
Yes.
gets better as a result of that.
That is so cool. Well, I just launched a poll for Matt and Thread. If anyone here is interested in a conversation with Matt, or maybe you want to see a demo of the platform, um, you just say a conversation couldn't hurt, and they will get in touch with you. I'll leave that poll for Thread running for a minute. We are going to hop back in to the education. Sales pitches are done. Roadmap time. So we were working on stage two. We have a lot to get through, Matt. So stage two is where AI enters the picture. What would you say the difference is between assistive AI and agentic AI?
Yeah,
Assistive is just like, what's my password? And it responds with possibly your password or a duck, right? Like,
yeah. So the difference is agentic AI can actually do inferences and reasoning, and it can think before executing, whereas assistive AI is more rules based. So we think of it kind of as like if you think through comic books, you have Jarvis on the Marvel side with Iron
mhm,
Man, and then that's more the assistive experience. And then if you think on the DC side, you have Cyborg, which is actually like a fully integrated uh, person slash technology. So supplementary versus complementary.
not a good enough nerd. I don't know Cyborg. I don't know the DC side very well. I was an X-Men kid.
Yeah, I just remember he was in a movie recently, so that's that's about the depth
Yeah.
that I have.
Um, all right. So assistive AI comes first, I assume, because it is more rules based, and agentic comes later, and then that just makes sense. So what does an MSP service desk look like when they're operating at stage two instead of stage one? Like we've got the before, what's the after?
Yeah, so requests come in. Essentially, a person is asking the questions to triage the request, and then in the background, all of the subtasks that we mentioned earlier, the TSI, the prioritization, the routing, all of that's just happening seamlessly in the background.
Okay. And are there any like extra tools that they're using at this stage, or is it like, obviously I know you're going to say yeah, they're going to implement Thread, but like, so let's say they're using Halo or ConnectWise Autotask. Like, I know with Halo you can. With Autotask and ConnectWise, can you like integrate an API to Anthropic or OpenAI?
Uh, well, and I know, they have their own products as well.
Okay,
There's Cooper on the Autotask side, and then Sidekick
that's right.
on the ConnectWise side. The difference there is those products are more suggestion, oriented and based. They're not actually writing the change.
Gotcha.
Um, Whereas we're natively making the change based on the context that's provided during the support session.
Gotcha. Okay. Um, are there other tools that an MSP would need to invest in order to achieve stage two?
No,
All in 100% stage two.
nope.
Okay.
That's it sounds simple because we've worked really hard to make it simple. But really, that that enables you to handle the foundational TSI items, the prioritization, the routing, and then things like time entry as well, right? Capturing the transcript and putting in time for that work automatically. And so, really, what you're doing is you're creating instant capacity and throughput gains for your people on the team. They are no longer bogged down in all of those clicks and all of that work. They're simply executing, on the ask and then moving on to the next item in the queue.
Okay. Um, how how do the humans get involved? Since the assistive AI is doing all this work for them now, right?
Yeah, well, on the assistive side, it's totally transparent to the user, so they're not seeing that there's any AI involved. It's just giving
Okay.
the technician kind of superpowers, in that a lot of the manual work that they were previously responsible, for is taken care of, and they can just focus on the phone call or the chat session and delivering whatever it is that the user needs.
So really with stage two, once they're assistive, like it's not solving the problem. But what it is doing is it might be helping speed up the workflow of creating the ticket or adding notes to the ticket or even the resolution to the ticket as you move through and solve things. It'll add your time entries for you along with maybe the work you've done. Um, and then what am I missing?
Uh, That's right, and then, the chat with magic type experience where the technician can ask, the AI for troubleshooting steps or, account history, anything that, or even to draft a response on their behalf to the end user, anything that they might need during the course of delivering that service.
Okay. So it's there's a lot of, I'll call it like little setup work in order to go from stage one to stage two, right?
Mhm.
So when you're in stage two, AI is already like magically working for you. So how do I go from stage two to stage three?
Yeah, so that's when you start implementing agentic technology, both internally and we believe the future is user facing as well, in chat and email and on the phone. And I know there's some trust building required in a lot of organizations, because again, we're service organizations. The most important thing to us is the health of the relationship with our customer, that we're hitting our SLAs, and that they're consuming a high level of service that they expect from us. Um, and so it does take a little bit of uh, testing and iteration and messaging to customers to understand, like, hey, we're not we're not changing anything functionally. We're enabling you to get the help that you need faster than ever before.
All right. And I don't feel like I actually know that, like, the checklist going from 2 to 3, you said just start implementing some agentic stuff, but, like,
Mhm.
isn't there more setup to do to go from 2 to 3?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, internally, we recommend starting with agents that do things like updating your documentation. So at the close of every support session, the record underneath the contact gets more context, and then if there's any KB updates that need to happen behind the scenes, another agent will go and update the KB specific to that type of issue and to that customer. So things like that, that again are they're behind the scenes, they're back of house. It's nothing that the end user is seeing necessarily, but you're getting a lot of
Sure.
leverage from and a lot of value from right away. And they're also easy to test without fundamentally changing too much about your service organization. So that's where we recommend starting. So you get an idea of what it looks like and what it means to have agents running in the background and delivering these things for you before you start
Mhm.
getting into the more complex and user facing stuff.
Right. And then,
So then the
sta
next phase after that would be actually having agents do the triage. So not the assistive automation stuff behind the scenes, but doing the initial engagement and triage with the end user. Again, could be chat only, could be chat and email only, could be chat, email, and phone calls as well. Um, we're really excited about voice. We just brought our voice product to GA on the first. Um, and again, that takes a little bit more of a thoughtful approach to implementation and rollout. You want to message it to your customers. You want to make sure that they're on board. But even before you do that, take a look at your service catalog and understand the types and the nature of work that lends itself to AI doing the lifting for you, and then start there before getting into the more complex stuff.
okay. So, let me recap. Stage 1, nothing AI, everything manual. Stage 2, if I'm understanding correctly, so not only is it just assistive AI, uh, but it's also probably only the MSP, the tech working with AI in the background, right?
Hmm.
Then stage 3, now we've got AI doing some things automatically for the MSP, but it's still background stuff. So if the customer sends in an email or starts a chat and they effectively open a ticket, the AI is going to, let's just call it, parse all the data, and it's going to put the ticket in the right buckets. That sound right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to, well, first it's going to understand the baseline information it needs in order to hand it off to a human, and then it'll persistently ask for that context, that information that it needs, in order for a human to do the work.
Okay. And then stage 4, now we've got the AI actually interacting with the end customer,
Yep.
and
Interacting
it's
with the customer.
triaging, but it's not fixing.
Yeah, so it'll triage, and then if it's something that say a user just needs to be walked through troubleshooting steps, or it's an inquiry, it'll resolve those types of issues. And then if it's something that can be automated, it'll hand off to like an RPA platform or a Power Automate. type workflow.
Well, that's good. Okay. And then stage 5 is when a robot actually walks into the customer's building
That's
and
right.
just
Does a backflip and then installs a new PC.
I was thinking it like walks in and then it just like falls over and then like it can't get up. It's like a turtle
Yeah,
on its shell. That's I think that's what the robots are doing these days, right?
yeah. That's stage 4.5. Yes.
All right. We've got a few minutes left. Does anyone have any questions on any of the stages right now? If not, I've got a couple questions I can ask.
Well, should we circle back to Chris Cassie's follow-up
Yes.
question from earlier?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Um all right. How far away is the AI from self-resolving anything other than password or simple access requests? Is that so? Like right now, what you mentioned earlier was, if it's able to, it'll pass it to the RPA or it'll
Mhm.
respond, with I'm assuming it's going to be a canned response of please follow these steps. But even passing it to the RPA, it's all instruction based stuff that you're telling the AI to do. So it's
Mhm.
very guardrail based. I almost wonder, is Chris asking about AI being smart enough to discern what the problem is to then fix the problem? Or is he simply asking, when can we trust it to do something more than a password reset?
Yeah, and I think it's a good question. It's we're both are good questions. We think about both a lot. Um, I do want to caveat a lot of this by saying if you think through the overall volume of requests that a desk typically sees, it's like the Pareto principle, right? 20% of the service catalog tends to be 80% of the volume. And so for
Mhm.
those who are earlier in their AI service maturation journey, that's where you want to focus is that high volume, low complexity type stuff, because ultimately it does make up the bulk of requests that come into the desk. Um,
I mean,
and
having AI say, "Have you tried turning it off and back on?" And then when they say yes, and then can it be smart enough to check the RMM or Intune or whatever you're using to look at the uptime and say, no, you haven't. Commencing reboot in 5.
yeah, and that's why the context layer, the service intelligence layer is so important because uh, it should, like, in theory, that level of insight and inference should be possible. It's just not centralized anywhere in a way that's easily consumed by agents. And so when we think about the benefit of those maturation steps is that when it does have the context and it does have the insights and the inferences, then it will be able to take steps like that. Today, it's consuming things like screenshots, inferring what needs to happen next based on the screenshot, and then providing the actions that need to happen.
Yeah. All right. Um, so how do I make it how do I make it more autonomous? Is that even possible yet? Because we don't have what do we have? We have like general AGI. We need. I can't think of the right terms. I blame
Yeah,
my
yeah,
eyesight
yeah.
still.
AGI. Um, but I think there's a long way to go before we make it fully autonomous. I do think, again, having the intelligence layer and the context that's easily consumed and readily accessible by the agent before it executes, we call them AOPs, agentic operating procedures. That's the next step. And the best time to start collecting that context and that intelligence is yesterday. So the sooner you start to implement, the sooner you'll be able to benefit as we move towards more autonomous service delivery.
And it's two, I just want to ask you one more question and then we'll wrap up. So, one of the concerns that I'm sure a lot of people are still going to have hesitation to give AI any semblance of control in the
Mhm.
platform because a perfect example, I shot AI over like, hey, here's the product I'm looking at. I gave it the exact model number. I gave it the PDF of like the technical details, the specs, everything about the product, right? And I
Right.
said, tell me what's the difference between this one and that one. And I gave it all the details of both. And it completely screwed up the details on one of the items. So how I mean, how do we build the trust? Because or how do we set expectations? Should we have an expectation that AI is going to give like, and I'm going to call it the perfect response every time? Or should there be an expectation that some of your customers are going to get pissed off because it was wrong?
Yeah, and I think that's the benefit of working with somebody, a vendor like us that's doing the heavy lifting, and prompt engineering and context delivery and memory creation in between the LLMs and your system of record, because this is what we think about and build around each and every day. So we have those guardrails and we improve the accuracy of the response because we're providing the right context and because we're making sure that the prompts are clean and accurate and fit for purpose. So that's one is it, going it your own. There's a lot of learnings that you can benefit from vendors who've been in the space and building since 2022 with AI. So you can accelerate past a lot of those learnings by leveraging one of the latest and greatest products that are out there. And then the other is that, certainly for the foreseeable future, there needs to be some human in the loop element and layer that essentially the AI is presenting a script, presenting code to a technician who has the authority to greenlight or put the kibosh on the automation that it wants to run until it's approved. And once it's approved, have it added to the library of execution that it can do beyond that point. Um, but just don't just have it execute without that approval step.
Okay. Well, Matt, thank you so much for hopping on here and talking to us about uh, effectively AI service desk maturity model. I really appreciate it. This has been, I hope, eye opening for people. I hope you guys feel like you got some good stuff out of this. Um, so, thanks everyone for attending, and I will catch you all at the next session. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you so much, Steve. Really enjoyed the conversation.